The amount of time you brush your teeth is the amount of time you need to do cardio if you have the right tech.
What?
You can do 5 minutes 3 times a week of cardio with our AI tech. It'll give you 6 times better results than spending an hour in a spin class every day.
You have also figured out how to hack your brain.
You can train your brain the same way you train your muscles. And if you do that, magically, a lot of things just start working in your body.
I guess where I want to start is this post that you did about testosterone levels, which I think it's really interesting because the conversation around fertility, a lot of it is around women.
Yeah.
And yet I do think that there is this epidemic of low testosterone. So,
well, there's really good evidence for it being that way. And what they do in the doctor's office, they go, oh, well, everyone has low testosterone, therefore it's normal. But if you look at...
How much do you hate that? It's normal.
Drives me insane.
Like, just because it's common doesn't mean that it's normal.
And do you know what normal means? It means average. And if you're listening to this show, you probably don't want to be average. You want to be better than average. So maybe your hormones could be better than average.
Yeah. I mean, we are dreaming bigger on this show after all.
Right.
So what can people first, why is this even happening? Because I feel like there's been a dip and like what's going on?
Well, there's a couple things. One, it very clearly is endocrine disruptors. So we're putting plastic in everything. There's microplastic, there's phthalates, there's BPA, and we know that these lower testosterone. And then in North America, we have really potent endocrine disruptors like atrazine. It's illegal to use in China, but it's manufactured by Chinachem, and then they send it to the US where it's legal to use. And this stuff makes frogs into hermaphrodites at allowable levels.
Wait, so how is it used? Like, what is it and how is it used?
It's a pesticide they spray on crops. So it
they're
be
feeding
banned.
us this crop.
Yeah. And glyphosate itself disrupts our gut bacteria in all sorts of ways. And so we're coating ourselves in these things. And you have Axe body spray. Almost every fragrance you can get is an endocrine disruptor. And then we tell people to eat soy and flax and other high estrogen foods. And so these all compound to lower testosterone and to interfere with natural hormone production in the body. So that's part of it. The other thing that people don't like hearing this, but we've changed our lighting in our homes and in our businesses to this LED. LED, it disrupts our circadian biology. If you don't sleep, you don't make testosterone. And so our sleep quality has gone down dramatically. And I think this is an under-recognized cause of low testosterone. Bright lights at night.
So then is there a time that people should specifically be sleeping and what should they be doing with the lights?
The earlier you go to bed, the better for growth hormone and testosterone production. That's part of it. But you shouldn't eat 3 hours before bedtime. And ideally, you eat before the sun goes down.
Okay.
And if you do that, magically, a lot of things just start working in your body. But if you brush your teeth in the bathroom and the lights are bright, the mitochondria that control the central timing circuit in your brain, they're like, oh, bright lights, it must be daytime. So then they stop making melatonin and they start spinning up the body so that the body will be more like it is during the day, which is not when it recovers. So you still go to sleep, but your sleep quality is not as good as it should be.
So then are all the lights in your house, like, are they red lights? Like, what are you doing? Okay.
Yeah. So at night, I have dimmer switches and I dim everything when the sun goes down and I turn on the red lights. They actually turn on automatically. So my neighbors probably think I run a house of ill repute. Let's put it that way. But it's funny, the people, my friends or people I'm dating, they're like, this is so weird. But then 2 weeks later, they're doing it in their houses because you feel so much better. Your whole body relaxes. You're supposed to experience darkness. So darkness is a nutrient. Sunshine is a nutrient. And these bright indoor lights, they're basically corn syrup of lighting.
So then, okay, talk to me about what time are you even going to bed? And I actually do have a follow-up question. So obviously you are an entrepreneur yourself.
I am.
What are your tips for how someone should manage their time? Because what I hear from a lot of other founders, I'm a morning person, so I wake up early and work, but like a lot of people find that nighttime is really the best time for them to work, my husband included.
Mhm.
So what are you doing?
Well, for my entire life, I would go to bed at 2 a.m. So I built Bulletproof staying up till 2, 3 in the morning. But if you stay up late, you just have red lights on. So at least your timing systems work. What I found is if I controlled my dinner time and I controlled my red light at night, I became a morning person. I wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. without an alarm clock now.
Wow.
For the first time in my life since I was 10 years old, I do that. So I became a morning person because I changed my lighting and I changed my food timing.
And so when are you going to bed now? Because you said 2 a.m. Obviously,
I go to
not
bed anywhere between 10 and midnight,
Okay.
but I only need 6.5 hours of sleep.
Wait, how?
Well, in the biggest studies we've ever done, the people who live the longest only get 6.5 hours of sleep. If you need 8 hours to be fully rested, your odds of dying from all-cause mortality are higher.
What?
That 8 hours a night is a total myth.
Okay, so then for me, I like my sweet spot is like 7.5 hours.
Yep.
So how do I get it down to lower than that?
I'm not sure you want to get it down. This is an average.
Okay.
So this is a study. And all of the things that we rely on in biohacking, it's all epidemiology. So they say we look at 1 million people, and this is what the middle of the curve is. But you may naturally need 7.5 hours, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But if you find, now I need 8, 8.5, 9, something's wrong. We also have evidence that women oftentimes need more sleep than men. And it can change week to week over the course of a month, right? So the most important thing is get as much sleep as you need and then be so healthy that you need less sleep. You do it in that order.
Okay. And so then you found that all the other things have kind of contributed to you needing less sleep?
If your mitochondria are working really well, then your detox systems that have to run at night, they run better. And there's actually studies supporting that.
So then how do you improve your mitochondria?
Well, you should definitely take some creatine, maybe.
Okay.
I know that's one of your products.
Yeah. I actually give you some.
I saw it in the bag.
It.
So there's so much evidence for creatine. And it's one of the things that upregulates your ability to make ATP. And strangely, women need more than men because, well, you eat less red meat just by volume. And it's in red meat, but it's not in a lot of other types of food. And women consume it more quickly than men. So I like to take at least 10 grams a day. And if I
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I would say for women, 10 is a minimum number, not 5.
Wow.
And you will be amazed at how your brain feels if you do that. And some people are doing up to 20. And if I don't sleep, then I'll do it. So for example, my flight was delayed last night from Austin. I got in at midnight. I went to sleep at 1 a.m. and I was up at 8 this morning. And I've been on interviews just consistently since then. So I took a lot of creatine this morning because it'll cancel out a night of bad sleep.
I actually didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And there are studies showing this, that this is totally crazy. So we all know if you pull an all-nighter, you're kind of a zombie the next day.
Yeah.
They found that if people took 10 grams or more of creatine, that it completely canceled out the effects of that bad night's sleep. They had the same cognitive function as if they had slept.
That's incredible. I take 5 grams every day, but now on days that I've not had the right amount of sleep, which unfortunately Q4 is a time where sometimes that does happen.
Yep.
I wouldn't say substitute, but I'm going to add in creatine on those days.
And
additional.
you make a creatine powder, right?
Gummies.
Just gummies. Cool. What I do is I put it in my Danger Coffee, which is my new coffee brand. But I'm happy to eat gummies too. It doesn't have to all be in there. There's something to be said for making it more absorbable. And I imagine a gummy would be more absorbable anyway, because it's having the little grains of powder. That's what causes all that upset in your stomach. But you eat the gummies, you don't get that.
Yeah. And we added in ginger root in there as well to help with the digestive. Because that was the thing that I was hearing from a lot of the women who were either who started taking creatine and then stopped, or they were afraid to take it, was the digestive issues.
Right.
I think also I do think that either women are more aware of what's going on in their bodies or they're a little bit more sensitive. But the bloating thing is like a real thing. And so we were like, okay, we're going to offset the digestive distress with the ginger as well.
Guys get bloated too, but we're just like, pull my finger.
Yeah.
It's we're maybe less conscious about that.
I think your vernacular for it is I'm full. I feel really full.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. And I'm like, that's not how you're supposed to feel, right?
Right. Like your belt got tighter. You're not full. There's something else going on in there.
Exactly.
It's funny. Some people have said, biohacking is for men. I'm like, 58% of women have been biohackers since the start. So when I look at my followers, I look at people who are buying the stuff that I've made. It's women, and women are better biohackers than men because your bodies change on a monthly basis. So you're aware of it. And for most guys, including me when I was younger, I'm like, well, there's no bones sticking out. I'm pretty sure I'm good. So the somatic awareness or the body awareness is higher in women on average, which is a gift.
Yeah, I completely agree. So talk to me. I mean, when you came in here, you were holding a bunch of supplements and you were like, this is my 4th handful of the day. What are you taking?
I do about 150 supplements a day when I'm traveling.
Wow. Okay. From there, I'm wondering whether I should ask you, actually tell me every single thing you take.
Well, off the top of my head, that would
or
be
like
a
the
long
most
conversation.
important.
Let's talk about categories. And the one thing, people have offered me tens of thousands of dollars to tell them what I take. And I'm like, no. And it's not that I have a secret. It's that if you were to take what works for me, you would just get disaster pants. Like, it wouldn't work for you.
I agree with that.
Right? So it's got to be personalized. In my case, I used to weigh 300 pounds. And I have a history of autoimmunity. And I'm also on a very carefully designed program to live to at least 180. So, and I spend about $3,000 a month on supplements, and I have no problem with that. I think it's the best investment I could make. Very few people are going to do that. And if they don't have my genetics, my biology, and my schedule, it wouldn't work. But let's talk about the types of things. I upregulate my detox pathways because there's this fantasy. Oh, I just want to get all my nutrients from Mother Nature.
It's just...
Maybe you should get all of your toxins from only Mother Nature then too. And you realize you live in a world that is not natural. So helping your body cope with all of the stuff that we put in our environment, that's a really good strategy for feeling good, not just living longer. So I take glutathione. I take other things that upregulate my body's ability to get rid of excess estrogen that comes in from the environment or from food or from anything else. I take a stack of things for cognitive function, quite a lot of them. I take another stack of things for mitochondrial function. And then I take some things that support hormone production. And then I take a lot of herbs that are manipulating my longevity factors so that I live longer.
So if someone is wanting to improve, let's say their mitochondrial function, because that is incredibly important, what would you recommend? What are some foundational things?
There's something called acetyl L-carnitine that's really important. Coenzyme Q10, PQQ, urolithin A, something called Timeline is really good for that. Let's see, spermidine is another one that I really like for that. And from there, you can start getting into all sorts of little like rat holes of just going down and saying, wow, this is really good for me. Another thing that I really pay attention to is stress response, which is secondary to mitochondrial function, but how your body handles stress is really important.
Are you measuring that through HRV?
I do, yeah. Okay. In fact, I was an advisor to the Heart Math Institute, and I helped the former CEO of Aura, get his CEO-ship.
Wow.
And I was CTO and co-founder of the first company to measure heart rate from the wrist. So I'm really into this stuff.
Okay.
And what you'll find is heart rate variability, or morning readiness score on most of our fitness trackers, it's the single biggest thing to look at to say, how did I do the day before? So the sum of everything that I do today and everything I do when I'm asleep tonight, tomorrow morning, when I look at my score, it's going to tell me, how am I doing? If my score is low, that means that I shouldn't lift heavy and I shouldn't work out, and then I should do more of a recovery style workout, or maybe not work out at all, just go for a walk and do some yoga or just do some breathing. And so many people are like, I have a rigid schedule. I'm an entrepreneur. I have to do the same thing. I'm going to go to my spin class. Spin classes are terrible from a stress perspective. They do not help you. And I take adaptogens. And these are herbs that allow your body to turn on stress and then turn it off so that you really don't have to sit in the stress hormones for long periods of time. And the more you work out, the more you're telling your body something is hunting me. So what I found over the years of doing this is that 80% of your effort should be towards recovery and 20% towards stimulation. But if we're entrepreneurs and we have this belief that working hard, grinding, more is better, you just burn out. And I see this in men and women. And unfortunately, women will burn out sooner from overtraining than men will. And it's not a good thing. So when I opened Upgrade Labs, which is my network of AI longevity centers, people come in. You can do 5 minutes 3 times a week of cardio with our AI tech. It'll give you 6 times better results than spending an hour in a spin class every day.
Shut the fuck up.
It's ridiculous.
Wait, how?
Well, we're tracking your heart rate and you're on an exercise bike and our AI voice is talking to you saying, no, go slower, go slower. And then you go all in for 20 seconds. And it's hard for that 20 seconds. But then the voice says, breathe deep. And it turns out the rate that you recover from that brief bout of stress, that's what tells your body to improve. And in 3 different university studies, that technique, it'll improve your VO2 max by 12%, but an hour a day of spin class only gives you 2%. So the amount of time you brush your teeth is the amount of time you need to do cardio if you have the right tech.
Wait, that's insane.
It's totally insane. That's why I have Upgrade Labs. We have 9 open, including in Toronto now, and another 20 opening across the US.
You have one in LA, right?
We had one in LA at the Beverly Hilton, but they're remodeling, so we don't have it there.
Okay.
But we will be opening some more in Southern California soon, just looking for franchisees.
Okay.
OwnandUpgradeLabs.com if you want to partner with me on that.
Wait, that's incredible. So then, okay, what do you think about weightlifting then? Like, what are you doing there? What are your recommendations?
Well, lifting weights is more important than cardio.
I agree, yeah.
And you only need to do it once or twice a week to get results.
Wait, sorry, what do you mean once or twice a week? I'm doing it 3 times a week. I thought that was the recommendation.
You can do 3 times a week if you're eating carefully and you're sleeping and you really want to improve. That's a lot of stress and not that much recovery. So if you did a heavier workout twice a week, you'd probably get the same results.
Okay, so what are you doing? I want to know what you're doing.
Well, I use the Upgrade Labs tech for weightlifting as well. So I'm fighting against an AI computer that fully loads my muscles. My total workout these days is about 20 minutes per week of weights and cardio.
You're kidding.
No, and I'm reasonably ripped.
There's no way.
I'm so serious.
What do you mean?
I use technology because I don't have enough time to just waste hours in the gym, because what you were really trying to do is get the body to adapt. But what most of us do is I'm going to stress and stress and stress, and then I don't really focus on recovery. So for me, when I load the body, I'm loading the muscles all the way, right? And then same with cardio. It doesn't take that much time, but we open these facilities to make it easier.
So 20 minutes in a whole week?
Yeah. I mean, I'll go for a walk after eating or something, right? But yeah.
That's okay. So everyone needs to go to an Upgrade Lab near you.
Yeah. And also I'm like crazy flexible. And
that's really freaking impressive. Oh my God.
And let's see, in another week or 2, I turn 53. I don't really listen to the calendar. I'm turning 28%. But I kind of think this works. And I used to be the fat computer hacker from Jurassic Park, like 300 pounds and couldn't touch my toes.
That is unbelievable.
And when I was fat, I went to the gym 6 days a week, 90 minutes a day religiously for 18 months. And I never lost a pound.
So then, okay, in terms of what you think is the most important. So say there's someone out there and maybe they're not 300 pounds, but they are trying to get fitter. Okay. Right. What would you say is like your most important thing for someone to look at? Is it more diet? Is it workouts?
It's diet. It's 90% diet.
Okay.
So you need to get 1 gram of animal protein per pound of ideal body weight.
Yeah. And that's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
It's a lot of food, but it keeps you full and you lose weight.
You just don't want a snack because you're actually full.
I agree.
And one of the biggest things, if you have any thought about food 4 hours after you eat, you didn't eat enough or you ate the wrong thing. So if you're constantly hungry, something's wrong. And it's usually what you put on your plate. So I teach my kids, and what I do, you eat the steak first, right? And if you go there to the restaurant, most of the time,
It's
I
the
just
bread.
order 2 main courses. I'm like, what are you doing? 4 ounces of meat? That's not enough, right? Not for my body weight anyway.
Mhm.
So you eat the meat first, and you eat some veggies second, and have some carbs third. If you just do it in that order, it's not plants first. No, plants are rounding errors. And if you're in a rush, just don't eat the plants. You'll be fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what about the fiber content that's required? You don't,
Well,
what are your thoughts?
a lot of plants have fiber that you can't digest. And
Okay.
then people say, well, that sweeps the gut clean. That's not really how it works. It actually damages the lining of the gut. We have these really delicate cilia that are supposed to be there doing their job. So soluble fiber is really important, which
Mhm.
is the stuff that feeds your good gut bacteria. But the roughage is not so important.
So then where are you getting the soluble fiber from?
I take a scoop or two of acacia gum fiber, which is the sap of a tree that quadrupled the number of gut bacteria that I have when I started doing it.
And do you just put that into water?
I put it in my coffee.
Okay. I'm gonna
It has
start.
no flavor. Put it in a smoothie, anything you want.
I'm actually gonna start trying that.
You should totally like make a product around it.
Yeah, that's actually incredibly smart, and it's like fully tasteless.
It's very neutral. I mean, if you put it in coffee or tea or a smoothie, you won't notice it's there.
I mean, I know you're particular about your coffee. So if you say it, I trust you because
Yeah.
I would not be fucking around with my coffee.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. People are putting mushrooms in coffee. I used to have, in fact, the first all grass-fed, no seed oil restaurant in LA was mine.
Really?
Yeah, it was in Santa Monica. It was called the Bulletproof Cafe, and then it was called the Upgrade Cafe. We shut it down during the pandemic, though. So we pioneered putting Chinese herbs and mushrooms in coffee. It just ruined the taste of the coffee. I'm like, let's stop. Just take those in a pill and then drink your coffee because good coffee's good.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. What are your thoughts on peptides?
I've been using peptides for about 15 years, and they're part of my longevity practice. And it feels like they're having a renaissance now.
Oh, yeah. I feel
Which
like
is
they're
great.
becoming more mainstream.
Yeah. And they should be because they work, especially BPC 157.
Yeah, we love that in our house.
Anyone who has GI issues, bloating, or just injuries that won't heal, take the stuff. You can inject it or you can just swallow it because it comes from the gut anyway. And it works so well.
Are you cycling on and off of it?
I do. I go through phases where I have a refrigerator full of peptides.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of stabbing myself. So I'll do like a month where I'm all in and I have, my sheet with my stack. And another month where I'm traveling. Like I just don't want to bring an ice pack with me. So I'm just not going to do it.
So then what are the other peptides outside of VPC 157 that you like?
TB 500
Yeah, that's
is a really good one.
And wait, explain to our audience who doesn't know what TB 500 does.
TB 500 is a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory and longevity peptide.
Mhm.
And it's a fraction of what comes off of your thymus, and your thymus actually shrinks as you age. So you have very little thymic activity. So it's good for your immune system. And then my favorite one though is called melanotan.
What is that?
And this is a hormone that causes your body to make more pigment.
Interesting.
And it turns out that the darker your skin, the less your skin ages. Right. And this is why my Black friends are like, black don't crack. Like you can't tell how old someone is if they have dark skin. And the same is true if you have darker skin, you're from India, right? Or you're from any country with darker skin. You handle sun much better. But it turns out when sunlight hits melanin in your skin, it makes an electrical charge from it that's really good for you. So for someone who's butt white, like I normally would be, you can inject this stuff and it radically improves your brain and it makes you have a tan with almost no sun.
You are kidding. Does it also help against, and I know this would be a broad sweeping statement, but does it help against like protecting you from the sun as well?
Absolutely.
I would think
Yeah.
so, right? Because the more melanin that you have.
Correct. Now, the problem is if you already have dark skin, one of my friends from India was like, Dave, I did this stuff. I never felt better, but I came home and I was like 4 shades darker. And my family's like, what happened to you? So just a warning, if you already have lots of pigment, maybe just a little sunshine is all you need. But I really like melanotan. If you have a history of fibromyalgia, like I do, people talk about being like pasty white or this kind of sickly pallor. Well, getting some sun can help a lot, but sometimes a little bit of this will work. And if you've had toxic mold the way I have, that shuts down your ability to produce this. So I find that one to be really beneficial. And the side effect of melanotan is it makes you really horny.
Really?
Oh yeah. So
well, I mean, that's good. I would think.
I think it's beneficial.
Yeah, for sure.
And for people who don't want to get darker, there's a branch of that peptide called PT141, which is just the libido enhancement.
Okay.
So that is one of my favorite peptides, and that works for men and women.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you think of microdosing GLP-1s? Because I know that that's like a new thing that's currently happening as well.
I'm a huge fan. I had the guy who did the first study of semaglutide for weight loss on my podcast, and we talked about it. These are longevity molecules. Unquestionably, it's just the dose. So really small doses of these is beneficial for most people. I've tried microdosing retatrutide, which is the third generation, kind of the fanciest and most powerful of them.
Oh yeah, actually, I want to. What are your thoughts there? Because actually, one of my friends had just brought it up at dinner, and she said that one of her friends had used it and really liked it.
It works better than the other GLPs.
Okay.
And it's reasonably affordable because you can get it compounded or from a research lab. And it hits something called the glucagon sensor as well. And it just works better. And for me, though, even when I do like 10% of the thing you would do if you had diabetes or wanted to lose weight, I don't feel good for a couple of days. So for me, unfortunately, I'm not using it, but I would like to use it. It just doesn't seem compatible with however hacked my system already is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. So I want to talk about the brain because you have also figured out how to hack your brain.
Yeah, that's been a big part of my work because mine was so jacked up.
So where does one even start? And why should someone even be paying attention to their brain health?
A lot of people believe that our brains are sort of fixed and they just work the way they work. It's totally not true. And the biggest evidence for that is the last time you were hungover, how was your brain?
Like mashed potatoes.
Exactly. So we know that we can influence our brain function.
Oh, yeah.
If we can influence it negatively, why couldn't we influence it positively? Right? I had such a problem with this in my mid-20s. I had just crippling brain fog. And I went to the doctor. Like, I feel like someone poisoned me. He's like, maybe you should try to lose weight. I'm like, I'm eating nothing. I'm on a low fat, low calorie, like semi-vegetarian diet. I work out all the time and I'm still fat. And he just looked at me like, liar. And a lot of doctors will do that, unfortunately, because they're taught in medical school that if you just exercise more and eat less food, you'll lose weight. And that is not how it works. So this brain fog was such an issue that I really started down the path of biohacking where I ordered $1,200 of cognitive enhancing drugs from Europe. We call them nootropics today, and they were not widely available back then. And I took them and thought, this is a ripoff. I don't feel any different. So then I stopped taking them. And the day I stopped taking them, I was sitting in a meeting and I was grasping for words. I thought, wait a minute. When your brain is working, it feels so natural. It's like, oh, I'm just myself. But when it's not working, you notice. The problem is if your brain stops working slowly, you don't notice. It's like one day you wake up and you look in the mirror and like, how did I gain 10 pounds? Well, it didn't happen that previous night. You just didn't notice it. So I ended up writing a New York Times science bestseller, which is super cool because normally I write advice books. And it was called Headstrong. And this was everything you can do to improve the brain. But it really comes down to two things. Improve mitochondrial function, so you have more energy in the brain, and then improve neuroplasticity. Because when you're under 20, you learn things so easily because your brain has higher levels of a compound called BDNF, which is called, it means brain-derived nootropic factor. So if we could have a brain that's high power and high flexibility, that's a healthy brain that performs better. So you do all the things we just talked about for mitochondria, and then you increase your BDNF levels. And there's some supplements that'll do it. Psychedelic mushrooms or most of the other psychedelics will do that. And then you can train your brain the same way you train your muscles. And it's such a big deal that the last about 10 years, I've run a neuroscience company that trains brains for executives and entrepreneurs. And I've spent 6 months of my life with electrodes glued to my head, figuring out what's going on in there. My most recent book is heavily meditated. And that's what I'm talking about. All the technologies for enhancing your ability to enter different states of consciousness, including high performance, which is an altered state because it's not a normal state.
Wait, okay, we need to talk about how you enter each of these and
Sure.
like what kind of technology are you using? And how did you even get to the conclusion that you can do that with technology?
Well, in my mid-20s, I was desperate. I read every book I could find about brain function because I'm in Silicon Valley. I'm an entrepreneur and my brain is turning off. And I felt like I was in a car and I was accelerating and the pedals all the way to the floor and you're slowing down. Like I can push harder, but there's nothing, like it doesn't do anything to push harder. So I went to the first neurofeedback guy in the entire Bay Area. It was a chiropractor. And he had this system. And I walk into his office and there's like a goldfish tank and beads and curtains. And this little kid runs up to me and starts screaming and just runs in circles around me over and over. And I'm like, what is going on here? And so I went in and I did my neurofeedback session where you're playing a video game with your mind. And I thought it helped. And I came back 6 weeks later and the same kid's in the lobby and I was going to go hide. And he walks up to me and goes, hi, my name's Bobby. And totally different kid. And I asked his mom, what happened? She said, we trained his brain. Like, this is neurofeedback. So I went home and I bought my first EEG machine. It was 25 years ago. And I opened my clinic about 10 years ago.
What's an EEG machine?
What it does is it measures electricity that comes off the surface of your head, and that shows what your brain is doing electrically. And this is cool because you can measure meditation with this. And you say, is this person actually meditating? If the electrical signals coming off the brain are there, then they are. And what I've done is develop a process to let people, while they're monitoring their brainwaves, completely let go of things that trigger them. And it turns out this is what I learned in the monasteries in Tibet. This is what you learn in shaman school, is how do you go into altered states? And so for a lot of us, breath work is the most accessible way to do it. If you've ever done like rapid, deep breath work in a workshop, it kind of feels like you're on psychedelics. And what we're doing is we're going into these states that we're capable of, but that we don't know where the doorway is. And some people will use psychedelics just to show themselves, oh, I have this in me. How do I do that again without having to take the medicine? And for me, I've done all of those. But I think the most powerful is when you have a computer that's properly set up, that's showing you your brainwaves so that you can say, all right, I'm going to like take a deep breath. I'm going to do something inside my head. I don't have the words for it, but I know that when I do it, I hear a sound. So it's like playing warmer, colder, but you're doing it with your consciousness so that you're guiding yourself into these incredible states without any medications required. And people come and spend 5 days with my team of neuroscientists and facilitators at a dedicated facility. I started this because I wanted a Formula One mechanic for my own brain so that I could go in and I could see what's possible there.
And so then basically when someone goes, they're being told by computers like, breathe like this or go back to memory like this in order to get to the altered states? Like, how does it work?
Facilitators help you like go back to this memory, help you figure out how to structure. We call it the reset process, and that's what heavily meditated is about. So it's an 8-step process to go in and access this altered state that lets you turn off alerts in your nervous system. So a lot of times you're working on your company and there's this mean voice in your head that's like, they're judging you, they're saying bad things about you. And that's just your body trying to feel safe. So we can go in and show the body that it is safe and that it doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And then it stops worrying. So most of my career, of course, I had those voices in my head and the uncertainty and anger, all the different aspects of being triggered. And I don't really have those anymore because anytime I find one, I can sit down and say, I'm going to run through these 8 steps and I'm going to go to the root of it and I'm going to stop being reactive. But what I would do before that, I would feel the emotion and then I would behave. And the problem with this,
you're like a slave to your emotions.
Yeah, we all are. And it's really challenging you're not going to succeed in life, even in school, if you just let your emotions run you.
I completely
Right.
agree.
So at some point you learn to behave. But this is hard if you're in a relationship because no one behaves all the time. So your emotions get the better of you and you say mean things to your kids or your loved ones. And you didn't mean to, but you didn't have enough energy in your brain to regulate your emotions. And your emotions are all over the place. So with this kind of training, what you can do is you can go all the way back into your internal programming so that the thing that pissed you off, it just doesn't piss you off anymore. And as an entrepreneur, the most powerful thing you can do is be congruent. And congruence just means your inner state matches your outer state.
Mm.
And then your team feels, oh, wow, this is a trustworthy leader. And when you meet people like, oh, this person is real. And we all know people who are like inwardly, like really, they're pissed off or they're carrying a grudge about something. But then they smile and they act all nice. And they can fool some of us some of the time. But there's this subtle sense something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because something isn't right, but it's something that's within our control now.
So then what is, like, give us just spark notes, because I want everyone to go read this book. And I completely agree, because for me, this is work that I've done. It's like my life's work. And I've found that emotional regulation is so important, because that way I found that being reactive does not serve me.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I'm like on someone else's timeline and they're like, I'm in their world if I'm just being reactive. I want to live in my world and I want to live on my terms. And so emotional regulation, especially as a leader, is incredibly important, because shit is thrown at you all day long.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have your feathers ruffled.
You can't. And if they get ruffled, your decisions affect tens or hundreds or thousands of people. So the bar is very high. And it comes down to this. If you can be triggered, it means that you're carrying a loaded gun and someone else's fingers on the trigger. And that is not how we want to be in our lives. And in leadership, it just matters even more.
Agree.
So that means your job is unload the gun so you cannot be triggered.
Mm-hmm.
It's just no one teaches how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have everyone who's in leadership, you should have a therapist, a really good one. But you also want a personal development practice. And for me, having traveled the world, and I have trained as a shaman, I'm not a shaman, but I've been through the training. And I've been to remote monasteries and just kind of traveled the world and learned from different gurus and leaders. All of that has been very valuable. It just takes a lot of time. And to distill it down to the most important single thing you can do is learn self-regulation. And for that, it's step one is learn how to behave even if you have emotions. And step two is learn how to make the emotions appropriate for the situation. So someone cuts you off in traffic. Most people get pissed off. I used to have the biggest muscle in my body was the one on my middle finger in my 20s, I think. And that's because your body makes up a story. And the story is that person cuts me off. They think they're more important. They're disrespecting me or whatever the thing is. Look, the reality could be they're on the way to the hospital to like deliver their baby. Like you just have no idea.
This is literally what I always say. Like sometimes I'll be in the car with my husband and he's like, that person's moving. So I'm like, you don't know. Like, what if it's an old person? What if they're sick? Like, what if they're a new driver? We have to just like, we don't know what's going on. So just
couldn't they just get in the right lane though?
Yeah. But also I'm like, you know what? Like what's gonna happen if I save the 5 seconds? Like I've dysregulated my own emotional state. I have put myself in a bad mood. Like it's fine, you know? So yes, it's annoying, but you know.
And it's funny how being well fed and well nourished makes it so you're harder to trigger because you have enough energy to regulate. But what I determined after a lot of work is that your body has an operating system. And your body is processing reality before you do. So we like to think that if I clap my hands, that the sound took some amount of time to get to your ears and then you heard it, because that's what we see. But if we're measuring your brain, your body held on to that sound for 1/3 of a second before it allowed your brain to start processing it. And it takes you the rest of the second to process it. So that means your body is where emotions and safety is processed before it reaches the brain. It's not a brain problem. It's a body problem. So when we go into these radically altered states, what we're doing is we're talking to the body in its language to tell it, you know what? You're still safe. And the body's like, oh, I didn't recognize that. So we get programmed to be reactive when we're 2 years old from dumb little things, right? And sometimes big things, but everyone does that. I was bullied a lot. So you get reactive around that kind of behavior. But if you can go in and just show the body, you don't need to do that anymore. The body says, thank you. And it doesn't do it anymore. And you become able to be a better leader and just a better person in general. So here's how the body makes decisions all the time in order. And this is so important for entrepreneurs. So this has to work for single cell bacteria because we're built out of those. That's what our mitochondria are. And it works for zebras and slime molds and politicians. No relation, right? And even works for trees. And number one, if something is scary, it might be a threat, you need to run away from, kill, or hide. Okay. If it's not scary, these are all F words, by the way. It's really easy. So fear is first. Not scary. It's food. Eat everything because famine is a big issue. So we have fear, then food. Then there's another F word that all life has to do to stay around for multiple generations. You know this one.
Mm-hmm.
You've read the book, right? Can't make you drop an F-bomb on your show. It's fertility. What that means is when you walk into a room, before you have a chance to even know what's in the room, your body has already decided, do I need to kill it? Can I eat it? And can I hump its leg? All the time for your entire life. This is how life stays around. And that seems really dark, except is there anything you've ever done that you're ashamed of that isn't one of those three?
Probably not.
No, it's always procrastination, fear, right? Eating all the Ben and Jerry's, food.
Being rude to someone, fear, I guess. Again,
yeah, that's fear. Yeah. And then, the time maybe you went out on that date, you shouldn't have gone out. Or you signed up for OnlyFans or whatever. It's all a thing. So we can blame our mitochondria. The good news is they run our body for us when we're not looking, and they keep all life alive for long periods of time. So they're good. We just need to reprogram how we prioritize our energy so we're less fearful. So we turn fear into peace. We turn food into nourishment. And then we turn lust and loneliness into like a sacred form of connection that nourishes. That's what healthy relationships are. And after those first three F words, then comes friend. All life supports the world around it. We support the ecosystem. We support our communities. And if you can be less fearful and you know how to eat, then you can have an epic love life that's actually good for you. And you have energy left for your community. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's all about the community, right? And the final F word in that list is forgiveness. And this is how you go back and you become less fearful so you can have more energy throughout the system. And for this reason, Heavily Meditated became the top-selling philosophy book in the country.
Wow.
Even though it's a book about kind of how to meditate faster. And it's because of this mindset that, it's a separate system. It has its own goals and they're not yours. And they will sabotage you. And what's even weirder is that if you're a parent, do you have kids?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so if you're a parent, if something hurts your little kid, you feel it in your body. But if you're an entrepreneur and there's a threat to your company, you feel it in your body, don't you?
That's why I say, I joke and I'm like, erase my child, but it really is.
It really is, especially in the earlier years of a company. So any threat to the company feels like a threat to your body. If you're reactive to threats that aren't actual threats, you will behave poorly. And that's sunk many companies, right? And we see all these stories of, business people being really reactive and saying rude things. It's all that. So if you can regulate yourself well enough and then retrain your system so that if there's a threat to the company, you're already in a state of peace. Like, you know what? Is this really the threat it feels like? And I tell a story in Heavily Meditated about how I was building Bulletproof and I grew it to 140 million a year in revenue.
Unreal.
And I started it from scratch and didn't raise any capital till we were at 27 million in revenue. And along the way, this guy named Joe Rogan asked me to be on his show. I didn't know who he was. This was episode 400-ish. So I went to LA and we had a great conversation and I got him into coffee, helped him with ADHD and got him into grass-fed, like all this cool stuff. And he was really complimentary. Like, this is great. Came back on the show, another really good episode. And then I came back again after one of the companies he was an owner of decided they were going to copy my products. And it was just a different vibe. And the day that other company launched their product, he goes on the air and says, Dave Asprey is a bad man and he's a liar and a con artist and all this stuff. None of it was true. But I was like completely dysregulated.
Yeah.
Well, except I was already running a successful company and he's another podcaster. I have a big show too, right?
Mhm.
So to me though, it felt like end of the world because overnight my social media, which is mostly people saying like, you've changed my life, like, thank you. And like true heartfelt gratitude, which is why I do what I do. And it turned to, you're a snake oil salesman and all this. So a guy on my team who he drove generals past explodey things in Iraq.
Mhm.
So he's a warrior. He's like, Dave, like you're overreacting. Wow, what's going on here? So I sat down, I put the electrodes on my head and I went into this altered state thing. And part of the process is you ask yourself, what's the first time that I ever felt this way? So you don't think about the situation, you think about the feeling in your body. And this memory from childhood surfaced I had completely forgotten about. So in first grade, I tattled on another kid. Yeah, tattling is not a good thing, whatever. But so then the teacher says, little Johnny, did you do that? And he goes, I didn't do it. Dave did it. So I got sent to the principal's office. And what this is, that's injustice. Like I did the right thing and I got punished for it. Well, in my adult mind, without having completely forgotten all this stuff, I did the right thing. I helped out Joe. I helped out his followers. I did nothing wrong. And then I got punished for it. And so all of the rage of a first grader is like built up in there. And I have no idea that that's what's really going on. It's completely invisible to my conscious brain. I'm a pretty intelligent guy. But once I just took a moment to consider the physical manifestation of those feelings where they sat in the body, it became clear. And I ran the rest of the process. And as soon as I did that, reality surfaced. And the reality was every time Joe Rogan says Dave Asprey is a bad man, I sell more coffee. That was the reality. But in my mind, it was like he was like physically punching me. Like it was emotionally painful. And I was like to say it's dumb, except that's how life works. Right. So I had an unknown trauma around injustice. The reality, life isn't fair. If you walk around thinking it's fair and that you're in danger when life isn't fair, you probably should do something about that. Right.
So let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
Had it been a scenario where Joe Rogan said Dave Asprey is a bad man and your coffee sales declined, do you feel like you would have had the same reaction had you gone through the process?
I would have had the same reaction either way because the reaction had nothing to do with Joe. It had to do with me. And if my coffee sales had gone down because of that, I would have just chosen a different marketing strategy.
Okay.
Right. As it was, the company was growing, it kept growing. And despite his best efforts, it never harmed the business at all, as far as I can tell. It probably harmed my reputation some. There's still some people who say you sell snake oil. So for April Fool's a while ago, I launched a grass-fed snake oil. It was really good.
I love it.
Yeah, we spin them at low speed and release them on a snake reserve. No mold toxins, none of that. But you just have to own it. And I actually love trolls today. They're one of my favorite toys. They're so fun. And they still come on to the, I mean, everyone gets them when you're successful. But like they're all stuck in like 5th to 7th grade bullying. So I just go right there. And I just say, that's not what your mom said. And literally, if you look at my social media, I do it all the time and they always lose it. And it's the funniest thing ever. Like they're my toys. So
that is funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, let's just call it what it is.
Okay. I want to end with some audience questions.
Okay.
Okay. The first one actually related to what we were talking about. How can someone increase HRV levels?
Breathwork is a really powerful way to raise it. There's this cool new tech called ZenBud, and it's a little ultrasonic thing you put in your ear. It's a vagal nerve stimulator, and that reliably increases heart rate variability a lot. Having a meal earlier in the day, so even if you were to not eat 4 hours before bedtime, going to bed earlier, those will both raise it reliably. So a lot of people are like, I can't raise my HRV. Well, you ate a snack at 10:30 at night. You had the lights on, into bed at midnight. No wonder it's low. Not overtraining will raise your HRV. And if you never exercise, that'll lower your HRV. So a lot of times people, they're just overtrained and they can't raise their HRV. So work out when your HRV is high, recover when it's low, and that'll raise it over time.
Love it. Okay, what are some biohacking trends that you think will become the norm?
Well, right now, most biohacking it's about the average person. So the average person should do this number of cold showers and whatever. It's becoming entirely personalized. So at Upgrade Labs, I'm gathering 187 million data points per client per year so I can guide them into doing things better for them. Because we have different goals and we're all different from a biological thing. We're also all different from how are we doing today. And if you know those three things, you can know exactly what to do today to be stronger. And our platform for that is called axo.health, which is part of Upgrade Labs, where we're taking your lab work, your wearables, your habits, and every other bit of data and saying, well, based on all that, today, this is when you should eat. Today, this is what you should eat. And if you change your goals or you change your state, then we'll change the recommendation. So having a personalized way to really know what to do without having to become a professional biohacker. And at this point, I've got 3,000 long form articles, 9 books, and 1,400 episodes, which is about a 2-year college degree worth of content.
Wow.
Most people are never going to watch that. So I put it all in an AI. And so for anyone listening, you can work with just a generic AI or a specialized one in order to have personalized biohacking advice. I want to work on this problem and this is how I am right now. Give me some advice. And it's like studying for years. So personalization would be number one. And number two, we now have the ability to change our state. I mentioned that Zen bud thing. That you could do some deep breathing exercises and try to raise your heart rate variability, or we get a signal from outside the body that's precision targeted to change your state. So we can do this with flashing lights, with sound, with pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. So we're learning how to play a signal into the body to cause the body to change in the ways we want. This is new and really interesting in the world of biohacking.
Wow. It's incredible. Okay. Can you share your current research on autism being related to the US food and drug industry? I know you just did, or you have a pinned post on that. Yeah.
So I had Asperger's syndrome, and this is a form of... Yeah.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Wow.
It's a lot of work. And I write about this in the first couple chapters of Heavily Meditated. So when I was young, I would stim all the time. I had OCD and ODD and didn't know anyone's name in class. And autism it's low power in the brain. Your mitochondrial networks collapse. Common causes are mold toxins, heavy metals, viral infection, and pollution. Just you can insult mitochondria lots of different ways. That in combination with, we'll say, fuzzy signals coming in on all of your nerves. So if you're on the spectrum, light and sound and physical touch, they feel different. The signal isn't clean. So you have this poor little brain trying to figure out the world. It doesn't have enough energy anyway. And all of the signals are coming with static on them. So to reverse it, you've got to clean up the signal, which means get rid of toxins that are affecting the health of your nerves, change your diet. And then you've got to turn the power plants back on, and you have to retrain all of your senses. And that's the really annoying part. I had to relearn how to hear and see, how to move my tongue, how to crawl. I had to rewrite my operating system. Most people aren't going to do that, but it's hard when you're in your 30s. It's much easier when you're a kid. So what's happening? We are poisoning our kids, unquestionably. Anything that causes autoimmune neuroinflammation is going to be a contributing factor, but there is no one cause of autism. There can't be. Is there one cause of bread? No. Is it yeast? Is it flour? Is it water? Is it heat? It's all of the above in the right order. So there is convincing evidence, according to Peter McCullough, who is a credible person, I can see that the amount of what's called an adjuvant, these are things that piss off your immune system, which would cause autoimmunity, that we're giving kids in the US today, is a contributing factor. Is Tylenol a contributing factor? If the mother or the baby cannot make glutathione genetically, Tylenol is probably a factor. Yet taking Tylenol when you have a high fever and you're pregnant that's probably a good idea if you don't have those genetics, because high fever is also bad for babies,
Mhm.
right? So it comes down to personalization. So people who have the right genetics or a propensity for autoimmunity ought to be very cautious around the type of treatments they get, right? That includes vaccines. So I don't think vaccines cause autism. I think the vaccine schedule is excessive. And I think there's been enormous fraud in the reporting of vaccine results, to the point that we can't trust any of the science that's been done until we redo it with actual scientists in charge, because it was drug companies before.
So then how can someone tell if they or I guess their child is at risk of autoimmune conditions?
You can do an advanced genetic panel that'll tell you pretty well. When I went through and I did my panels, I had one gene that made me 2.5 times more likely to have autism, and another combination of genes that made me 7 times more likely to have autism. That, in combination with exposure to toxic mold, mercury, nickel, lead, and probably vaccines, and probably a bunch of other chemicals, that was enough to basically tip the balance.
Yeah.
And so when we look at, there isn't one cause, but we need a clean environment. We need less endocrine disruptors, less toxins, less plastics, better sleep, and better food. We would have a lot less autism. And I am not a fan of the aggressive, forced vaccination schedule in the US, because all humans are not the same.
Mhm.
And if you come from a family with a history of autoimmunity, it's not necessary. If vaccines work, then some of us should be able to not be vaccinated and we'll all be okay.
So then when someone is pregnant and they want to make sure that they are having a healthy baby, are there things that they can do to ensure that their child has lower, I guess, chances of autoimmune function?
My first book ever was called The Better Baby Book.
I know that, yeah.
Okay, there's about 10,000 kids who've been born who probably wouldn't have been because of that book.
Wow.
And I've had people stop me like years later, just saying like, these are my kids. We couldn't get pregnant, and we read your book.
Wow.
So I wish every parent would read it, because my kids don't have autism. They have the genetics for it, right?
Wow.
So I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but it's everything I could do in 5 years of research, because the mother of my children was infertile when I met her. We restored her fertility using biohacking.
Okay. I mean, I feel like we're at time, but like I need to ask, like, the top 3 things that you did.
It comes down to removing toxins, preparing the mother and the father for making healthy babies so we can have stronger babies, smarter babies. And you lower toxins and you lower stress, especially in the mom, right? And you clean up the household, and then you eat enough minerals, enough essential fatty acids, and enough animal protein that the mom's health is vibrant and she's full of energy, and so's the dad, because the dad's a contributing factor. When both parents do this, you can have much, much healthier babies, and your odds of any developmental problem, including autism, go down dramatically.
Wow.
There's so much that we can do, and perfection's not required. It's that you just move the needle in the right direction, and doing that makes a huge difference. And if a parent does that for 3 months before they get pregnant, and does that during the pregnancy period, the effect on the entire life of that kid and their grandkids is so big. Like, it's the best investment you could ever make if you're going to have kids.
Wow. Dave, this has been a joy. With that, tell everyone where they can find you.
Go to daveasprey.com. You can find my podcast, The Human Upgrade.
Which is very good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And Heavily Meditated is my most recent book.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.